Okay, we're going to go through with the second step of our restoration, which is going to be gluing one of the side panels. And I've done a little prep work already, and I'll show you the tools and what we're going to be using. I'm going to readjust this just a little bit. Whoops. So you don't have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff, but a few things are handy. This was a little stand that I made. You could do flat or sideways, put a little felt cloth on it. And then these things you could buy, but they're clamps that I made. This was a frame clamp that I cut down, put some cork on the inside to protect the finish. If you don't have those, you could cut some dowel. You can see I corked those as well. Put a little piece of rubber across there so the threads don't accidentally scratch things. And then this is the #1 luthier's glue that I could see online, all the YouTubes that I've done, I looked at. This Titebond wood glue, it says it's most used, and you could get it at any hardware store. And the way this is going to work, set this up in this stand here. Okay, let me pause a second. So as you can see, I prepped this with a little masking tape around the crack itself just to make it a little bit easier to keep it clean. And then the goal is to put some of this on here, force it into the crack real well, and then clamp it, make sure it's nice and flat. And one of the tricks of the trade that I've seen is using a little suction cup to push that glue inside. We've got a pretty good gap on all of this, so I think it's going to fit in there pretty well. There's some down here on the sides, it's not so wide, but we're going to give this a shot. And I'll just start up here, put a pretty good bead of that. And I think I could force a lot of it in there with my fingers. Get a sponge here to keep that down. And now we'll just go down the line, push that in there. Stumac, an online luthier supply company, actually makes a little air pump with a suction cup on the end. It's just a hand pump. But this is going in pretty well. Get a little bit more over here. Put this up so you can see it. Get a lot of it in there, and then go on the inside and kind of clean it up as well after. So before I started this today, I gave this guitar a nice little sponge bath, and it was amazing what came off of it and how it just perked the whole thing up. And like we said, these kind of cracks happen either because of instrument had been dropped or because of humidity changes. And anybody that knows, the humidity here in Colorado is very dry. But the guitar instrument's been sitting here for the last couple weeks getting acclimated to our 20 to 40% humidity. So I think if there was going to be some drying, process, it's already been done. Now, let me get the bucket here. Turn this off. I want to get a lot of this off before we start clamping. Part 2 of this repair on the sideboards is to put some cleats on the inside. So we're going to make some of those out of some cedar. I don't have spruce, but cedar fencing and ripping a nice little 2 or 3 millimeter square piece. It's fairly easy. Oh, and you can see that glue got in there pretty good. Okay. Now, let's get one of the clamps on here. And we'll start with the tightest piece over here. just going to snug it down. I think 3 of them are going to work. I tested them last night. This is a little long. It's almost going into the crack. I could have used another little spacer there. So that's number 1 snug down. I'll put the second one up here, about like so. And that's going to force a glue out. I'll see on the inside how we're doing, just by feel. And then we'll snug this one down. Now the goal is to get this nice and flat so we don't have a ridge. So to do that, you gotta kind of work your way inside, finger wet, push it, and that feels pretty good, so I'm gonna tighten it. Okay, this one here is gonna take a little playing with. Playing, my arms, hands are just about not long enough. That's a little more of a challenge. Looks like some of the glue may have came out there. You can see how it's going to come out when I get everything nice and clamped. Go back on board with this, maybe down right in here. Okay, a little more tightening to do. We're going to get this nice and flat, or as flat as we can. Okay. Could use an extra pair of hands, but I think that's going to do it. You can see this clamp doesn't work as well as the others, maybe because it's offset a little bit. But now that they're good and tight, so this one here, I'm going to push in, get it as flat as I could. That seems to be the one coming out. Oh, they're not? Talking about the neighbors here. We're recording. So I got it all good and tight. There's one pretty good gap where it was double split. Come and see if you could put your hand in there. It's okay.
You're gonna have to delete that, mister.
Okay. It may not be as good as a professional luthier, but we're going to go with that. I think it'll be good and tight, or tight enough. Okay.